And we're back. My dupes have all healed up, and I've made a few changes. I have decided I am not going in here. That hurt. I had to hurt my dupes about 3 times before I realized that's just a really inefficient way of going in there. I'll leave it for a while. Some of that heat will, of course, eventually leak out of there. I believe the general consensus is 73 degrees. If the temperature of what they're around is 73 degrees or higher, they'll start getting scalded. So let's not go near those. A few mistakes I made is oh, the trees over here are getting stifled because it's too warm. So I'm just going to dig those up immediately. Hopefully the pip will plant them somewhere more hospitable. Or maybe I should wall that off. Maybe later. I set the Atmos sensor down here to 1800. The reason being the oxygen pressure over here is getting a bit high and one of my dupes got popped eardrums. So I learned my lesson and no, I obviously didn't learn my lesson. How are you getting scalded? You're not near anything that hot. What? Okay, Doc Dupe, time for you to go back. You to go to the actual medical beds. How? 72.9. No, it should be okay. Now, what I've done here is I've set up a big long dig all the way down here. The reason being, I want oxygen. I want to set up an electrolyzer, but I want to set up a hot electrolyzer. As in, I'm not going to bother cooling the output at all. I'm just going to dump hot oxygen into my base. However, that will stifle all my crops. Mealwood will just die out. I could try insulating the box, but what I want to try and do is just run hatches. Hatches can survive up to 70 C, 70 degrees, which is about the temperature the oxygen's coming out at. So long as I keep my base just below 70 degrees, I can run on hatches. All the plants will die off, so I'll have to replace those with pitchers or something, but I just want to see how it works out. So to get more hatches, to get myself up to speed, I'm going to go harvest all these nice little things down here. All these cracks can contain mealwood seeds, hatches, muckroot, that kind of stuff. And as well as that, there's a big pile of oxygen down here. It's 2 kilos, so there's some oxalate down here. So digging all the way down here will release all that and give me. It just allows my dupes to breathe better. Breathe better out here. Now, if you'll check the oxygen overlay, you'll notice my main base nicely oxygenated. Everyone's very happy. Out here, it's a little bit less. Someone was asking why I didn't put in an airlock. Why not put in an airlock here and prevent the oxygen from escaping? Well, I want to dig out here and I want to go quite a distance. I don't want my dupes running back and forth. It takes them far longer. Ooh, I should probably dig that up. It will take them far longer running back and forth. I don't mind venting a bit of oxygen out here. I specifically stuck at 6 duplicants because that was what the oxyferns could support, and I could have a nice, reasonable playthrough doing it that way. And of course I did. Yes, okay, so that will be my next hatchery. So that will give me a rough count is two hatches will support 1 duplicant with omelets. Well, it's actually a bit less. It's about 2.2 hatches, but just say round it to 2 for the time being. So if I get say 8 in here, 8 in there, that's 16. So that means, well, with 2 of these, I should be able to support almost 8 duplicants. I can survive a little bit on the leftover food as well. If I can get up to 3 hatcheries or 3 ranches up and running, I can support quite a few more. So, plan is dig down, excavate, and see what we've got down here. And there's our first hatch. All I gotta do now is find maybe like 5 or 6 more. Oh, second hatch. Yes, I knew this would be fruitful. There's actually a whole nice biome down here with lots of plants, oxygen, copper, and lots and lots and lots potentially of hatches for me to add to my farm. Anyway, I'll just skip this forward a bit more. Lots of ranching is going to be going on. There is so much biome down here to dig out. I've also got my hands on a few more hatches along the way, and of course plenty of sand. This is Ooh, and there's a slime biome, which means there's gold down here as well. There's some gold amalgam. So I've got gold amalgam, which I can use to make my electrolyzer, and I have plenty of hatches. There's another hatch right there. And I have plenty of hatches, so I should be able to support all my food requirements. I think this plan is actually coming together. Let's see, we got 6 in there, 2 in there. I should just use this overlay. So we got, 6 and 2. We got 8 of those critters so far, which means we can support about 4 duplicants with just what we've got here. Get in a few more and we'll be good to go. Oh, just 2 more in there. Yeah, I can pretty much cut mealwood right about now, I think. You know what? Let's get rid of it all. Well, once we harvest this last crop, we have so many calories, and we're bringing in muckroot as well. That's 18,000 calories of muckroot I found out here. Once we've got this place cored out and got our hands on some gold amalgam, I'm thinking oxygen production right about here. Put in a big Rodriguez one, a 3 kilo per second electrolyzer, one of the really ones with a lot of oomph. So I won't have to come back and upgrade it for a long, long time. And dump all the oxygen into the base. At that point, we can start rapidly expanding the population. Coal-wise, yeah, we're looking good. We're actually producing coal with our hatches, and it's only going. The coal production's only going to go up as we get more and more hatches into the fold. And I still haven't finished demolishing all this. Look, there's so many little bits of rock here that I can crack open to hopefully find more hatches. I think we're going to be fully ready to go after this. Anyway, I'm just going to skip it forward a bit more. It's me going to be hollowing all of this area out. It turns out this is a very, very fruitful biome. I've managed to find about 41,000 calories worth of muckroot. I've got my hands on almost 6 tons of algae. Well, 5.6 tons of algae. I'm going to set up a manual generator out here, a little jumbo battery, and an oxygen diffuser that runs on algae. I'm going to have to demolish this whole biome, so I'd like to keep the oxygen pressure up here reasonable. And right now it's, well, the oxalite that was down here is starting to dissipate, and the oxygen pressure is not terrible. It's just, well, I don't want my dupes running back and forth. Now, there was a few mistakes that were made while I was playing. I lost a couple of hatches. It turns out when lunch was called, sometimes my dupes were standing over this giant pool of water, and they were carrying a hatch back to base, and the hatch was dropped into the water, at which point it evolved into meat, and I've managed to acquire some barbecue. Oops. I'm going to dig up all these plants now. I've got more than enough hatches to cover everyone. I've got, what, 8 in here, 2 in there, and another 3 in here, and several more that are in here incubating and will shortly be hatching out. I'm going to be swimming in omelets soon enough. Actually, how are my omelets looking right now? Nope, they've all been eaten. Never mind. Uh, So, yeah, it turns out. Oh, and one thing to remember: always make these out of copper ore out here because there is so much copper ore around. I didn't want to have to go back to base, and I tried to originally build these out of aluminum or aluminium. And another hatch. They're everywhere. It's amazing how many hatches you can find out here. Anyway, one other thing: I'm about to hire another duplicant. I got one that looks like they would be a good dog's body. They've got +7 cuisine. True, it's not great. I would prefer if they had something in, say, well, anything else that I'm going to be putting them into. This will save them 2 morale points, but the dupes I've been getting have been pretty weak sauce recently. Now, I'm not sure if that's the exact spelling of ooh, but close enough. It'll have to do. Now, one other thing that was pointed out to me was leave in a blank default schedule. As in, move all your dupes out of the original schedule, and that way, oh, the problem is you'd have this issue where you'd have 3 or 4 dupes in your primary schedule, your default one, and every time you add a dupe, sometimes you forget and you leave them in and you've overloaded the schedule. It's usually not a big deal. But instead of having any dupes in your default schedule, immediately move them out. That way, if you forget and you hire 2 or 3 dupes before you remember to start moving people out or moving dupes out, they just end up in an empty schedule and they're not going to cause any problems or any overloads on your toiletry system. That was recommended to me by Greed Theron in the comments. Thanks very much for that. I am totally stealing that idea. And we'll put Mama in here. And perfect. Now every time I add new dupes, they get added in there. Now one of the reasons I'm hiring a new dupe is not just because of the food, it's because oxygen pressure is starting to get a little bit out of control. It's almost 2 kilos up here. Once it hits 2 kilos, that gas pump will no longer be able to move the gas from down here up to there because the gas vent's overpressurized at 2 kilos. It's already getting a little bit overpressurized, as you can see. So I need to start consuming more oxygen. Now, I think I'm just going to finish off down here, hollow this out. Once I get the electrolyzer set up and running, I can rip out the oxyferns and switch entirely over to the electrolyzer. I think I'm just going to dump polluted water into it. Well, save the polluted water, and even with the food poisoning, germs shouldn't cause an issue. Food poisoning germs and oxygen is not a problem. It's only a problem if it gets onto your food. I haven't tried it though, so we'll have to see if it causes any complications. If it does, I'll just have to live with it. And there's another hatch. Nice. The amount of resources that are out here on the edges of the map just make this so much easier. I mean, look over here. There's 4 kilos of oxygen pressure in this area. More muckroot, more everything. I think you could do an awful lot by just digging around the outside edges and you know what? No, we're just going to get our gold amalgam and set up our electrolyzer and be done with it for today. Anyway, I'll skip this forward a little bit more. There's all I'm going to be doing next is demolishing this slime biome for all the gold amalgam I can find, and there's not a lot of gold amalgam in there, is there? Hopefully there's enough for our needs. When it comes to demolishing slime biomes, yeah, I'm very blasé about it at this point, as someone pointed out. It turns out slime not really that dangerous. I used to have a great big fear of it, and back in the day it was quite a threat. But right now, It's more of a threat to people who are playing on the harder difficulty settings, and more for the stress. It doesn't actually cause your dupes to. It won't actually cause any fatalities among your dupes. All it will do is just make them a bit sick for about 3 days. So if you're willing to take 3 days of inconvenience, well, 3 cycles of inconvenience, you can demolish entire biomes, the entire biome, usually in under 3 cycles. And once that's done, you don't have to worry about dealing with the slime anymore after that. So minor inconvenience, get it all done really quick and out of the way with. It's usually worth it to do it that way. Once I've demolished all of that, I should hopefully have enough gold amalgam to do what I want to do. Also, there's an enormous amount of polluted water here at about 30 degrees. I could do whatever I want with as well. Oh, also there's I forgot this is a subsurface ocean. There's also an awful lot of water up here. Water is not going to be a problem, it seems. Combine that with the two polluted water vents. Oh, I'm probably gonna have to block those in or something. Otherwise, they're gonna overflow, or find some way to dump that. On the bright side, I also have two volcanoes just to make things slightly more balanced. Combined with the other volcanoes I have on the map, I think these volcanoes, where is it? Yeah. I should have 6 or 8 of these, I'm not quite sure. So I'll have 6 or 8 of these volcanoes that are out in the open, and then combined with these other two hidden ones, that means I've got about 8 to 10 volcanoes on the map. I am going to do so much petroleum boiling if I can find enough oil wells. And there's one oil well right there, a second one, and a third. So I have enough oil wells right here, combined with enough volcanoes to do a petroleum boiler right there. And I haven't even explored all the map yet. Um, yeah, I'll skip this forward a bit until we're ready to cut in making some oxygen. So this is one of the reasons why I really like expanding rapidly. I've now got 13.6 tons of gold amalgam. And in terms of organics, where have we got here? Algae, I've got 22 tons of algae. Oxygen and gold amalgam and coal-wise, oh, I also got a bunch of coal out of this whole thing, so I've got 23 tons of coal. Oh, and I found a few more hatches. I should, yeah, add those to the collection. This is why I love expansion so much. Oh, and I've also got another dupe coming in. Now, this one's a little bit more complicated. I found a dupe that's really, really good at animal husbandry. However, I've already got 2 dupes, but those 2 dupes are not as good. But I'm going to hire them for one reason. They're going to take over, and I'm going to repurpose one of the other duplicants. So please welcome Lino to the team. Lino will be taking over the animal husbandry front. If we go into skills here, Lino can go straight for critter ranching. And where was it? It was Chitera. Yeah, Chitera actually has. Well, I was going to make them my second duplicant for ranching, but I think I'm going to skill scrub them and make them a mechatronics engineer. They've already got a talent for it, so why not put them into that instead? That will leave me with the 2 ranchers I want, and well, I could probably get rid of Panthero as well. Panthero does not have the same amount of husbandry. We'll see. Maybe another one will come along. But that does mean we're going to have to rename Chitera into something better. Well, once I move her out of this, which will be after Lino gets his first level in ranching. I think another reason that the oxygen pressure in here has gone so high is my dupes are spending most of their time outside of the base, which means they're not consuming the oxygen inside it. They're only coming back here at nighttime. So the oxygen production over here is what's helping. Where is it? I've got this set to 1 kilo. Oh, that's the wrong button. I've got this set to 1 kilo, so it was keeping this whole area oxygenated so my dupes could do their ranching duties, or do all their duties out here and get all the construction done. In terms of sickness, I think, yeah, Donny Diggo got slime lung. That was the only one, despite this place being absolutely rampant with slime lung. I have plenty of deodorizers down. They'll get rid of the polluted oxygen, and eventually this place will be habitable. But until that time, we'll just leave that there. Oh, and I'm going to collect all the gold amalgam and the algae up here just to get it closer to my base. But I found something else I want to expand out into. Just holds the way. There's an oil biome down here, but if you'll notice, it's 66 degrees, 66.9. It's below the 73-degree mark, which means I can get in here, and there should be some lead right there that I can get, which I can use for wire for my electrolyzer setup. I think, though, I'm going to get rid of this oil. Who's getting scolded? Why? How? How is it that you are getting scolded? You know what? It's fine. You took 1 point of damage. You will be fine. I'm also going to have to expand this liquid tank, I think. Yeah, I think I'll make this tank just a little bit bigger. We need some more storage space for this polluted water, otherwise it's going to start overflowing at some point. That should keep that from overflowing, at least for a while. Over doubles my capacity. Now, where was I? Yes, I need to find a method of getting down here to get more I keep getting so distracted by exploiting new biomes. This water needs to be put somewhere where it's out of the way because it's an annoyance. Every time I dig through it, my dupes are getting wet and it's giving them stress. Well, not a lot of stress. They're pretty happy, but I'd prefer to get rid of it. Hmm. First, I'll just finish off this tank. Well, that was rather easy. Next up, I need to get rid of that water and dump it somewhere where it's not going to be so much of an issue. Well, that was relatively painless. I just dumped the water off to the side, and now I can dig down here to my heart's content. Also, I thought, why not take a little side detour because I can't help myself and go in here. There's a bunch of oxygen I can let out, which will help keep my dupes down here longer without having to go up and gasp for air. That should get me right by this oil biome. And looking over here, it's less than 70 degrees everywhere. I should be able to demolish this entire oil biome just for lead. Oh, yes, I know. I get distracted super easily, but I've got loads of water. I've got loads of gold amalgam. I've got loads of algae. This has just been a lovely, pleasant run through. Okay, barring that massive scaldings that I got over here a few times, but I learned my lesson. Slowly, but surely I learned it. Oh, I also forgot to mention there's a hot polluted oxygen vent over here. Outputs at 500 C. I thought it a good idea just to leave that there. I have no intention of breaking that open. There's also something else over here that I'll have to get around to exploring, but I'm not going to explore it until after I get the oxygen production up. I'm just going to go down here, get the lead. That will give me plenty of wire for conductive, or refined metal for conductive wire. And I know I could just refine my own, but I can't help myself. I like exploring the surrounding biomes and just harvesting everything for all the resources. And ooh, there's a bunch of oxalite. Maybe just a quick ladder down there. There we go. That should let that oxalite out. Also give me access to maybe a few more hatches. Oop, there might be another hatch in there. You'd never know. I think this would be a great map if you were trying to get. There's an achievement, something to do with living off meat in the first 100 cycles. I think you could find an awful lot of meat on this map in the first 100 cycles if you really put your mind to it. Oh, yes. Ooh, a little bit warm over there, but I should still be able to access most of this. It's all below 72. I'm going to strip mine you to bits. And, ooh, cool steam vent. I want to brick that off for the time being. Oh, and more coal. You know what? Let's just skip this forward a bit while we excavate out this little area for oxygen production. As you'll see here from the overlay, oxygen's not too good down here. My dupes are having to travel long distances, which is really reducing their efficiency. But once we let that out, it should make things a lot simpler. So I've encountered a bit of a problem here. It turns out all of this is 80 to 90 degrees. All of it. It's 100 and something down here. Oh, wow. Yeah, I think there's something very, very hot leaking down here. Something very hot. That's 400 degree sandstone. Um, yeah, I'm not going in there anymore. In fact, I will probably wall that in. Yeah, I need to do some major changes here. Major, 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 major changes. Yeah, we'll do that for now. In fact, I may wall up the entire side of this map just to make sure none of that leaks out. Um, hmm. Yeah, that should contain that problem for a while. Uh, so the oil biome is actually cooler than the sandstone biome right beside it. That's just wonderful. Ooh, caustic biome. Chlorine. Well, I would like some chlorine. Damn it, there's always so much good stuff out here you can take advantage of. Yeah, I'm getting distracted again and again. Oh, yeah, I've got to get my diggers, though, healed back up. They're going to be moving a little bit slower due to injury. So, yeah, everyone get into a tirage cot. I want you all functioning at 100% capacity. Oh, blueprints. Well, there's uh, bottomless stomach, both of which I don't want. Narcoleptic, which I'd rather avoid. They don't really have anything too much that I'd like. I mean, operating and digging aren't terrible, but just not worth the effort. I'll take the rust, even though I have literally zero use for it. Oh, and I better finish off these ranches. Nice. Now I've got the capacity for 4 ranches, so yeah, hiring dupes not an issue. Oxygen pressure still way too high. I'm going to get popped eardrums, but I've almost protected myself from whatever that is over there. Oh, yeah, make sure that doesn't get out. Yeah, that'll do. That should be enough protection for now. Then we can start demolishing this for oil. How hot is it down here? Now, I'm not sure any of my plans have ever been described as subtle, but that's the general theme of what I want to do here with this oil biome. Demolish it until there's nothing left, and take every single last scrap of everything I can out of it that's useful. And let all that oil flow to the bottom. I'll find a use for that later. I'm going to want some plastic in a reasonable time frame to do up a steam turbine. I'm also going to dump some oxygen in here because, well, why not? I want to be able to use this reasonably soon, or I don't want my dupes running all the way back up like they are right now to get oxygen back and forth. I've also stuck in a wire all the way down, so that will provide power to that little oxygen maker, and I've got a battery up here that should provide plenty of oxygen to get me started. Anyway, I think we'll skip forward this a little bit more. With just a little bit of oxygen in here, it really cuts down on the amount of time my dupes have to waste running back and forth getting oxygenated. It's totally worth it, especially if you've got the algae to do it. I mean, I still got 22 tons left, and my dupes are well oxygenated. My base is well oxygenated. This is not a waste. This is just a time saver. Now, how much lead did I get out of that so far? Refined metal. Yes, we've got 18 tons of lead. Yeah, I've got enough to do my oxygen diffuser right now, or let's check the times. So I got about 20 minutes of footage so far. That means I got about 10 minutes. I'd like to get the oxygen diffuser done, especially with the way I get distracted. Oh, first things first, I've got some skill points earned. Pantero, Dupe, Chitera. Where's Lino? Yeah, Lino's already got into critter ranching, so it's time for Chitera to get reassigned. That means we're going to want to invest in a skill scrubber. So I'll add in a quick skill scrubber here, and at the same time, I'm going to replace my entire electrical grid with conductive wire, the 2 kilowatt variety, all because I have an awful lot of lead. So with all that lead, that means I can just replace everything and not care. Refined metal, well, useless refined metal is not a problem at the moment. The reason being lead, it's not very useful for anything but conductive wire. Maybe heavy wire as well. Oh, not heavy conductive wire. Wiring wise, it's perfect. It doesn't have any pluses or minuses over any of the others. The only downside of it is its melting point. That should allow me to skill scrub Chitera. And how are we doing down here? I also installed a fire pole down here just to decrease transport times. I also had to make other changes as well, just ones that sneak up on you. For example, I had to increase their downtime to 4 slots. The reason being, my dupes were taking so long to get back to base, they would just use the bathroom and go straight to bed. They weren't getting to eat, so I increased it by 1 slot so they have a bit more time to eat. I was getting starvation warnings, which is, a bad sign. Food-wise, yeah, that's gone ridiculous. We've got omelette, muckroot, barbecue, meal lice, and cooked fish. Yeah, some pacu spawned. I just evolved them. But 134,000 calories of omelets. I think we're good on the omelet front for quite some time. Now, once this skill scrubber is up and running, we can scrub Chitera and get on with the day. Ooh, more stuff. Narcoleptic, I'd rather not. Plus, they don't really have anything too useful. This one, yokel and biohazardous. Well, they've got supplying and tidying, which means they can do some plumbing and I'll at least save a few points. I mean, they're not great, but I kind of want to dupe. You know what? Since you're not that good and you'll be kind of useless at pretty much everything, but okay at everything, we'll just call you Ted. Okay, Ted, welcome to the fold. And I've already started putting in an extra dining hall, and we're also going to have to put in an extra bedroom, which already underway. Knew this was coming up sooner rather than later. Though I suppose I'm going to have to increase oxygen production quite a bit at this point. How's it looking in here? No, still good. I suppose my dupes are spending most of their time outside the base. Oof. Okay, we'll skip this forward a bit until all this construction has caught up and we're ready to move on to the next stage. So Chitera is finally skill scrubbed, which means I can now reassign her to something more useful. Yep, we're going to go to improved tinkering, electrical engineer, mechatronics. Oh, nope, gotta get those two first. Boom. So that means they can actually build conveyor rails. We can start getting into automation right about now. Extra point. I think I'll give them into hard digging. Being able to dig out granite is pretty useful, and I'll probably get them into abyssite mining just because. I can always skill scrub that later once all the digging is done across the entire map. That means Lino is now going to be my critter rancher. That means I need to make a few changes. Lino is now set up to ranch. Chitera has been removed from ranching and is now completely into operate, and the name needs to change. Well, they are going to be doing machinery, so Chitera is now Optimus Dupe, manager of machines. Also, the entire electrical grid, except for, I think it's up here. Nope, the entire electrical grid has now been completely redone. It's all done in conductive wire, no chance of overloads, and we can dump more stuff onto this even if we want to. Why is that crit pip there? You know what? Get that crit pip out of there. And how is that even cramped? There's only 4 critters in here. You know what? They'll be gone in a minute. Let's see what the printing pod has for us. Nothing I care about. Loud sleeper, but nothing to make up for it. Bottomless stomach, no thank you. Noodle arms, and then nothing that really makes up for it. We'll just take the bristleberries. Actually, we're going to make gristleberries out of them. And maybe do a little bit of a change in the consumables. I'm just going to remove raw meat, raw bristleberry, and raw pacu fillet from the menu, just so they won't eat them. I want them cooked instead. And this is all cranked up to do barbecue, omelets, gristleberry, and everything there. Now, I do have a few germs on the meal ice left behind, or is it? No, actually, they're all gone. Perfect. Time to maybe set up a little bit of automation here to get infinite storage going on. Yeah, I have run out of time to get my electrolyzer up and running this episode. It's going to be next episode. Plus, there's even more stuff I can access over here, but I don't need it. I don't need it. I don't need it. I'm going to get automated cooking in place. We'll finish automated food storage in place, and then we'll do the electrolyzer first thing in the next episode. Now, automated food loading, pretty simple. Conveyor loader, I've smashed up some gold just so I have enough of it to make this. That's a conveyor loader. That's the auto sweeper. The auto sweeper will pick up any food that drops down here, load it into the conveyor loader, and that gets dumped across here and dropped down. And the auto sweeper can't pick it back up again because it's out of reach. All I'm going to have this do is pick up all the cooked food that gets dropped here, dump it across here, and that's infinite food storage for anything that comes off this grill. Also, it can load up eggs from the egg cracker, so any eggs that get cracked here will automatically get pumped into this. While we're at that, let's let all that lie on the ground. We don't want any dupes moving that just yet, so we can give a decent example of why this works. Another thing, we want to keep cooking ingredients in here, so pinch of pepper nuts and raw eggs. For the conveyor loader, we want to have barbecue, not bristleberry, only gristleberry, cooked fish, gristleberry, meal ice, no thank you. No meat, no muckroot, no omelets, and pacu, no, not pacu fillets, only if it's cooked. So all the cooked foods will get dumped in there. And then pow, that gets dumped across, drops down here, infinite food storage. Oh, as well as that, I'm going to want to set this to cook pickled meal. Pickled meal is one of those weird foods. If you pickle meal ice, it doesn't actually give you more calories and it doesn't improve the food quality. All it does is cook the food and make it so it can't go off. Pickled meal just doesn't go off. That's the only bonus. As well as that, if your meal ice has any germs on it, the germs will be killed by pickling it, well, by cooking it. So yeah, we'll just queue up every single thing they can possibly make and dump it all in there. Oh, another dupe. Yeah, I had to fast forward a bit while I got all the resources necessary to make that. Let's see what the blueprints we have for today. And, well, they're not bad. Narcoleptic I don't want. Irritable bowel and squeamish are fine. But what I really want right now, I can explain this succinctly. I don't need any more diggers or builders. I don't need anyone to do farming or critter ranching anymore. Well, another rancher mightn't be the worst. I don't need anyone to do cooking. I've already got someone assigned to that. I don't need any art, so that doesn't matter. I don't need anyone in research. So the only things I really care about are, say, getting into improved supply and tinkering. So supply and operating. Supply and operate. Any dupes that have got those, I'll probably take them just for the reduced morale penalty. After that, I don't really care. Tidying is a bonus because I can get some dupes with plumbing. That's always helpful later on in the game. But barring that, these dupes don't really have anything that appeals to me. Nope. Oh well. We'll just take some fungal spores, even though I'm not planning on building any food. Well, I never got around to the electrolyzer this episode, but by and large, I think this has been productive. We've managed to sort infinite food storage, and for the big three, which is oxygen, we have plenty of oxygen. The whole map is oxygenated. My theory is, if you are trying to seal up your base to prevent oxygen escaping, then you're not producing enough oxygen. It's been working for me so far. For organics, let's check here. We've got about 20 tons of algae left, so I'm not too worried about having a few extra dupes. I've got the algae to support them. Water-wise, this is where all my water is at the moment, or my clean, cool water is. That's mostly being used on these oxyferns. Once the electrolyzer goes in, which is, well, the very next project I'm doing, no drain will be on this anymore, or there'll be zero drain on this because that toilet recycling loop that's going on. I should really actually, you know what? No, I'll do a modification of that later just to stop it being so exploitative, in my opinion. Uh, Barring that, everything seems to be going well. Oh, coal. We have 45 tons of coal. It's not just the hatches. There was also a bunch of coal down in the bottom right when I was excavating down there, so that's all great. Lead, we have 53 tons of lead, which is a refined metal which we can use to build lots of wire and some of the lower end devices. For example, I've got this incubator up and running here. Yeah, it overheats at 90 degrees, even though it's made out of, what is it? Lead. Oh no, aluminum. I made it of aluminum. Should have made that of lead. Oops. I'll demolish that and make that out of lead anyway. Oh, so that's oxygen, power, and food. Food-wise, we're looking at 187,000 calories of omelets. Omelets not going to be a problem. I think I've got about 8, 16, another 7 there. Yeah, so we got about 24 or so hatches, and room for about another 8. Plenty of food coming in. Also down here, there's another biome I could cut into that's got lots more food, possibly some hatches, more algae, very sorted. Caustic biome that's also got a natural gas geyser for more power. This also has bleachstone and chlorine, which will be very useful when I want to decontaminate this polluted water. I don't care about decontaminating it just yet, but at some point I probably will start decontaminating it. Water-wise, we've even got salt water up here that we could filter out or desalinate. We've got these 2 polluted water vents, which were very fruitful, and more polluted water down here I could use. We are swimming in water. Yeah, I think this is going quite well. I think next up, though, will be I am going to do a big hollow out mission here and put in a quite substantial electrolyzer setup and dump a whole lot of hot oxygen into my base and see how it handles it. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this and good luck.